let's just talk about the differentiation between role playing in a game like Gary's Mod or Roblox or just a game similar to that. Mainly those two, because those two are the ones that you've
More
played.
sandboxy games.
Yeah, like a sandbox game, end of the day, just a sandbox game. And comparing that to a tabletop RPG. Because I have my opinions on it, but my opinions are from the perspective of a game master, or what in D&D would be a dungeon master or a DM. What are your opinions on like the difference between video game and tabletop?
Yeah, so to clarify, I haven't done extensive amounts of tabletop, but I have done a little bit. Um, I think the main difference is that video game roleplay, you have a significantly more powerful visual aid compared to tabletop, where you're using way more of your imagination. Now, usually in video game roleplay, you still are using your imagination. You still have to fill in the gaps, the limitations of the game. But tabletop, your entire job as a player is to fill in those gaps. It's like comparing reading a movie or reading a book to watching a movie. Um, they're both ways of telling a story, and they both can be used to tell similar stories, but some of them have advantages in one ways, and some of them have advantages in others. Um, it tends to be in tabletop games you have a lot more freedom depending on how the dungeon slash game master is handling it. Um, but at the same time, it requires a lot more like cognitive what's the word? Consistency.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's
there's a
why I
lot
don't
more
think I could
room.
get into it.
Yeah, there's a lot more room for people to have different ideas of what they think is happening. And so if I think thing A is happening, and then you think thing B is happening, and then we both try
Hmm.
to do something about that, it adds confusion, and then that's a whole nother layer of like how of like it gets in the way.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same with reading a book. When someone were to come up to me and like I would love to play more D&D. Like the only time I've properly sat down and played D&D was in some random class, and I don't think I'm allowed to cuz I literally burned down a forest, killed my entire party and ran away with like my druid paladin like monk best friend. And I did all this while I was a sentient chair wizard. Like
That makes sense. That makes sense
I
for you.
I am chaotic as hell. And the reason I like video games, as specifically sandbox ones, so much is because it gives you the opportunity that a lot of things don't have, and that is the visual opportunity of things. And it's just when you can see exactly what the person is trying to portray, it is a lot more engaging to do.
I agree. I,
Um, Roblox is good for it because it's way easier to make things for it. The downside to Roblox is it's not as mature. Like that's not
yeah.
what the player base is. And it takes away a bit more of the realism and a bit more of the I am in person, at least to me, because it doesn't have the graphics to provide for that. It is, end of the day, Roblox. Now, I've kind of opposite of you actually. I've done Gmod and I've done Minecraft RP. Now, Gmod, like at least Roblox and Minecraft are two separate spectrums. I'll both agree they're harder to do. They're entirely separate. Minecraft isn't as good as a platform as Roblox because you can't create as many things as easily. And I kind of view Gmod as like the best current made application for it, because we'll get into the better one in a bit that's being developed, but no promises on how well it's being developed. But as games currently stand, if you want to go out with a group of friends, make a D&D like project, I'd recommend you do it in Gmod. As weird as that is, as long as you know the people or know the maps or whatever that you want to do. I think
Yeah.
you kind of understand what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And I do agree that I think Gmod is a better source or engine, I guess is the better word, for
Mm-hmm.
roleplay in most contexts, but it has serious limitations. It
Yeah, that's the
is
issue
an
with it.
FPS, and if your roleplay is not based on the concept of an FPS, it doesn't work. in Gmod.
Mm-hmm.
Even stuff like just melee weapon, like medieval roleplay, which people have tried to do in Gmod, it just doesn't work very well. It's a damn good FPS, but it just, if it's not that, it doesn't work. That's why I think I disagree with you partially with Roblox, not
I
being the
just
best
haven't
in
give it
some
the full
context.
experience. But I just like, for graphics wise, if you wanted to do nothing but graphics, right?
That was my
You'd do
exact point
Gmod.
though. Yes, yeah. Gmod is the best thing for roleplay if you have to have good graphics. But I think the thing that Roblox has is that it has the visual aid. And I also want to get into one other thing that is a major
Mm-hmm.
difference between tabletop and uh video game. But it has enough graphical fidelity so everybody can know what they're looking at. You're not going to look at something and be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, that's fair. And
But
I've
it
seen
still
the
gives you room
best of
for
the best.
imagination.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I've seen the best of the best Roblox has to offer, right? Like,
Yeah,
you can do some insane things with graphics in Roblox. The issue is, if you just want to join a community, it is way harder to do that on Roblox than it
I
is on
agree with that. I
Gmod.
agree.
And like, no matter where you go, the doors when you try and get into video game roleplay instead of tabletop, the doors are just way more like hard locked. Like, there's a padlock on it. You need to
Yeah,
know how to get in. And to get in, you have to know where to find the communities or whatever. The way I view it is, it's like, because D&D and tabletop roleplay has had a resurgence in the last few years with things like Dimension 20 and whatever else the other ones
Critical
are.
Role is another big
Critical
one.
Role. They've had a resurgence, and for a good reason. They're fun to play, they're fun to watch. But I feel like if you could do something similar in a online video game format, it would just be way better. Cause like, you can do everything you want to do. It's just a matter of, do you know how to make a game for it? So
Yeah.
yeah, like, I've played a lot of. I think the only main roleplay I've done in Gmod was Star Wars RP. I've done a bit of Dark RP. Dark RP wasn't my thing because it isn't really a roleplay scene.
It's more of a game
Yeah,
failed as like it's
it's
chaos. It's chaos simulator.
pretty much. Yeah, that's the best way you can put it. And like, as someone who didn't roleplay at like peak time on Gmod, it never really fell into place. I fell in love with Star Wars RP because the community around it when I joined was so god awful in the best possible way. Like, let's be real. The Gmod roleplay scene as it stands sucks. Like, to the point where the creator of Gmod, fucking Gary Newman, said, "I hate roleplay."
Yeah.
That's just what it is, because it's so toxic. And I think we said this earlier, but like, every Gmod server that is successful, minus things like Ice Fuse or whatever, where those will last for years and years, but they're like an entirely separate game. If you want to create a community of roleplay, it'll last for like maximum 6 months. And by the end of it, everyone's going to hate each other because someone was toxic. There was a bunch of falling outs. There's going to be 8 different spin off servers that come out of it. None of them are successful. The community fizzles out after 2 years. It dies, and there's 8 dead discords. Like, I'm a part of so many of those communities.
Yeah,
Like,
same.
that's just the way it is. Do I want this to change in the future? Yeah, for sure. Do I think I could make something that would change this or like change the whole concept of it? Yeah, for sure. Like, I know a while back we were talking about this concept, and I'd still love to put this concept to fruition where it's basically a D&D group, but this D&D group takes the instead of playing as a tabletop thing or playing through Discord where you're just talking, we go on to like Gmod, and you you have like your game master, and it's just, you could do the passive RP, you could do all that where you
You're
have
just
a
basically
server,
hanging out
whatever,
in
you just
character.
hang out in character. Or you could do like a proper D&D thing where you set up times and you just explore the world the DM made or the GM made for the time you have, and it doesn't have to be just Gary's mod. Since you're all trying to be a character, you could play things like Ark, Gary's mod, Roblox, Star Citizen, whatever it matters. Like any game that is open world and has enough, like even admin commands that your admin can go fly around and do it. Would it be hard to put this concept to fruit, or like provide proof that this concept could be good and make it good? Yeah, for sure. But I think in the near future, in the next few years, it will be way easier. And that's going to actually transition us into the next topic I want to talk about
Before
here.
we do that, real quick, I have one other
Yeah.
major point that we
Alright.
didn't bring up yet, and I'll make this the last one, I promise.
No, it's
But
fine.
it's important that we didn't bring this up, that I realized halfway through us talking about it. The
Mhm.
biggest difference between tabletop roleplay and video game roleplay is the gameplay. Tabletop
Yeah.
roleplay is entirely strategy by its design and by its nature. But video game roleplay, there is a level of you actually are doing the actions that you're saying you're doing. You're not just
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I want to do this," or "Oh, I want to do that." Do I succeed? You have to click heads. You have to shoot people. You have
Yeah,
to
you fuck around and find
you
out.
have skill.
Like,
It's not a skill check where you're rolling a die on your character sheet. Are you actually good enough? Have you actually practiced enough? And I think that's another major part that's a difference. Now, I just wanted to mention that because I thought that
no, that
it's
is
important.
fair. Like that is exactly why I am in love with the concept of
With me,
role
I know.
playing on a, yeah, with you, but with role playing as a game, right? Like it's just you can do the things you want to do way easier and way more fun. But
Yeah.
as I said, let's talk a bit about